Everybody buckled up and ready? Great.
Fernando Torres training dogs.
Hola, soy Fernando Torres. Estoy en Naru.
Peter Schmeichel singing about bacon.
They back know what people want. There's no better bacon.
Luis Suarez working in an office and still being a complete and utter shithouse.
Hábitat. 20 años haciendo la vida más fácil.
Welcome to the weird world of footballers and advertising. This is going to be absolute chaos, isn't it?
It is.
I'm excited about this. I think we should probably start with one of the adverts each that we will never forget that a footballer did. Jim, over to you first.
So many, but one that stays with me a lot actually is, do you remember when Venky's took over Blackburn Rovers?
Yes.
And they did an advert with essentially the Blackburn squad just eating loads of chicken legs in the dressing room.
They were so maligned, that organisation,
Yeah,
as well.
they really
and they
were.
still thought that was a good idea.
It makes me think of Steve Keane, who
Yes.
like
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
very much like the Liz Truss of Premier League managers. It's like, how has this happened? It was just fascinating because it looked like they knocked it up in a day. And David Dunn and like Michel Salgado are in it as well. Like, remember Salgado played for Blackburn for one season and ended up in that advert. Weird. It haunts me.
The taste that brings the English Premier League team, Blackburn Rovers, to India. Blackburn Rovers, proudly owned by Venky's.
Pete, what about you?
Mine's very much a Japanese advert for SoftBank. It's basically like their O2 or Orange or whatever out there in Japan. Shinji Kagawa and a dog in an advert.
I had a feeling you'd pick one with a dog.
A white dog in a bowler hat, and I think he's got a monocle as well.
Oh,
He
obsessed.
travels to England, gets in a taxi to meet Shinji Kagawa when he was still at Manchester. Hisashi Buridana. Long time no see, Shinji.
Is that what the dog said?
That's what the dog says. And he teaches the dog. The dog teaches.
I love that they know each other.
Yeah, they're just hanging out.
Couldn't have picked me up from the airport. I'm a fucking dog. I've flown all this way.
And he teaches him with the aid of a talking dolphin to score goals.
Yeah, obviously.
And there's another one where Gary Lineker plays a park keeper raking some leaves. So I just very much like the SoftBank Shinji Kagawa stuff because it's wonderfully Japanese and absolutely batshit.
つながりやすさナンバーワンへソフトバンク。怒られた。
I think mine has to be Michael Owen and the helicopter in Dubai. I remember when this came out. It was like, 2009, I think it was.
It was pre-dossier, wasn't
and
it?
it was the weirdest thing, wasn't it? It was like, it was actually like a mini film. It was 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it was
10 minutes long.
Who's going to sit there and watch a 10-minute promo for
We are.
Dubai? I mean, Michael Owen's advertised bloody everything. He'll do
loves
anything
it.
for a pound him.
He doesn't
Chris,
talk about Bitcoin anymore. does he?
No.
Weird
no, I
that.
don't know.
But because his was the one that I think it doesn't depreciate in value, wasn't it? That was just, we've guaranteed it, so.
Yeah.
It's obviously the new buzzword, let's say. If you think back 20 years ago, it was the internet, and now everyone's predicting, let's say, that this is going to be a life changer for, I'd probably go along with that. I think it's.
But the script they gave him to read, it's almost like he didn't realise there was innuendo in it, and he can't read the innuendo in any other tone other than his own monotone voice.
Yeah.
Right at the start, I think he says, "This is no ordinary chopper."
And this is no ordinary chopper. It's got special powers, and once we're airborne...
It literally makes
Michael
my
Owen.
skin crawl. And then
no sexless man.
And then they do like a bird's eye view of one of the buildings, and he goes, "It may look a bit small from up here, but it's actually quite large."
Hey, I think that's actually Sam Torrance down there, the ex-Ryder Cup captain. Let's just drop down a bit to check. Sorry about that, folks. Just a bit too low. The shatterproof glass came in handy, but I don't think Sam's going to be too pleased with us getting in the way of his drive.
It's just
outstanding,
He
by the way.
genuinely did do a
Tremendous.
personal...
Tremendous,
by the way. He genuinely did do a...
That was the bit. I was trying to think of the word.
Yeah, I thought it was outstanding.
I
sorry.
literally
Tremendous.
Googled the news story.
My favourite place, Dubai Sports City. I'm throwing on the afterburners, so hold on.
But he did a personal injury lawyer's advert as well. And it's like, and I think it was one that was local to the northeast. It's like,
Yeah.
they've got some... they've
He
got
will
some
do
wedge.
anything.
I started my run here, showed some lovely control there. I was in acres of space, but this guy steams in, bang, right through the back of me.
Yeah, I understand it because you're a long time retired, Michael.
Yeah.
Owen, but when you are so charismaless, you're picking the wrong client and you're spreading yourself too thin. I always think like influencers and stuff, where people like brands just throw loads and loads of money behind influencers and different kind of brands. So you're advertising a new product every day. So there's nothing special about advertising with a particular influencer, and there's nothing special about advertising with Michael Owen because the man's rubbish. And I'll leave it there.
He just did a new one with Gemma, didn't he? His daughter that was on Love Island. So they've just done this Amazon advert together, and it's it's so cringe. I can't even deal with it.
Such an idiot.
Oh.
Thank you so much. Well, she is a big deal.
My favourite advert, or certainly the advert that comes to mind when I think of football, is a bit more wholesome because I think it was the first time I'd seen a footballer in an advert.
Right.
Do you remember David Platt in the old McDonald's advert where he ends up playing Sunday League for a Big Mac?
I don't know that one.
So he's broken down on the side of the road and he gets picked up by this guy who's got McDonald's in the driver's seat, and he was like, "Oh, I'll help you out." It's David Platt.
Yeah.
And David Platt's like,
"Give me that burger."
Well, they're driving away, and he's like looking in the bag, smelling it, and like, "Oh," and he's like trying to basically buy it off him, and he was like, "Oh, what can I do to get this burger?" And then it cuts to like a Sunday League game, and he scores an overhead kick. Okay.
David Platt can afford a Big Mac.
I know.
I think so. Yeah.
Also, what's the guy doing not eating his burger straight away?
Yeah, I know.
He leaves it in the bag for that long.
Still going around the M25 looking for David Platt.
David Platt? He must be costume for you, Bob. You didn't get platted for a Big Mac and a fillet of fish. Of course not, just a Big Mac. Denise would have killed me.
The best thing we could do here is to try and get through as many as we can. Let's start with the early days, shall we? Because it wasn't just recently, since all of the injection in money in the Premier League and stuff, that we started seeing all these adverts. Let's go way back. George Best, he advertised for aftershave. Obviously, he was regarded as one of like the first celebrity footballers, wasn't he? So no surprise, he was actually one of the first to actually do a footballer advert. And the advert itself, it's not the worst, is it, Jim? I don't think this one's too bad. It's quite short.
Yeah, it's from the age of advertising where it's all really sincere, isn't it? Everything's sort of like laced with irony, and everything's kind of, essentially a bit clever and a bit cool now. But back then, advertising was like, we have a product and we would like you to buy it.
Here's
It
some
will make
aftershave.
everyone like you.
Here's some ladies in a park.
You too could have ladies in a park, just like George Best.
Want to hang out in a park with some ladies?
Oh,
Buy some aftershave.
yes.
Hairspray, talc, the lot. 4 brings out the best in a man.
He also did an egg advert, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I quite like the egg one. I don't really get it though.
No.
I don't really understand why. What's
Why-
the purpose?
Who's running Big Egg and like paying for this?
Who needs like who asked for this? Like, who's paying for it?
Well, the only time George Best has an egg is like 3 eggs in a Tabasco laced drink in the morning after a heavy session, I imagine.
It's also got the worst tagline I think I've ever heard in any advert.
Right.
Which is eggs for breakfast, E for B and B for best. Like, what? E for B. Who abbreviates things that much?
Remember that last match in Spain?
Cool.
Terrible game. Didn't have an egg for breakfast.
Well, there you are.
I always play better when I've had my E for B. E for B and B your best.
I just don't like who paid for the egg advert. Like who's
the
council?
the board of eggs.
Well, do you remember, like, back then, you would have, like, big kind of government organisations or off-government organisations who would sort of go, have some more milk, it's good.
Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly.
Have some bacon.
Then go to the pub.
Big stuff. Right, have some fags.
Have an egg and get to the pub.
Have an egg and get to
Is
the pub.
it the similar thing with the pub adverts then? Because Bobby Moore did an advert in the 60s just advertising all pubs. Like
Yeah.
not
It's good,
just
isn't
like
it?
not go. It wasn't like
Go to Weatherspoons
yeah.
or
it
go to
wasn't-
Green King.
It wasn't a specific pub. It was just
go to the pub.
this is really. It's really good to go to the pub. Go and meet your wife in the pub.
The most
That's literally what it was.
successful. Before, didn't drink. Dads didn't go to pubs.
Yeah.
Mums didn't go to pubs.
Imagine Harry Kane doing that. Because it's
Yeah,
the
pub.
same. It's literally the same.
Yeah. Pub.
Anyway, it's great to get together for an evening out. Like Mr. and Mrs. Bobby Moore,
Looking at the local.
Kind of then went the other way, and footballers then started doing things to try and make people better human beings and better people. So Kevin Keegan did this advert to try and help kids cross the road. It was amazing, this one.
Very in your face, wasn't it? Those kind of road safety adverts were, though, back in the day.
How many kids did they lose in the early takes of that?
Hey, what do you think you're playing at? Come here. That's no way to cross the road, is it? Come over here, I'll show you a safe place to cross.
Kevin is donning an absolute blazer and a half, isn't he?
He really is.
It's like, it's a... Pete, you'd pull that off, I reckon.
Oh, it's like beautiful kind of flared number.
It was a flared trouser and then a checkered blazer, wasn't
I'm
it?
into it. I would wear that.
The
definitely.
70s had such a unique look, didn't it? More than any other decade. I think
Yeah.
everybody looked like they were peak 70s all the time.
Also, in the advert, when a kid goes across the road and he ushers a kid over, and he's wearing like a gold chain and a bracelet, and he gestures over to him like he's Tony Soprano, and it genuinely looks like he's about to end him.
Get his head in a car.
Come here, you little rat.
Be smart. Be safe.
Then completely the opposite end of the scale, he then was in an advert with Henry Cooper, which saw the two of them using Brute, the deodorant with muscle, in some changing rooms after a really sweaty workout.
That's not even toxic masculinity. That's Kevin Keegan. You know, at the end of the end of the film, you're going to fall over. So it's not toxic masculinity if you know he's going to get his comeuppance almost immediately.
Yeah, it's a very strange advert, isn't it? They just have a lovely, lovely workout and then a lovely time in the shower
They have
together.
a lovely time in the shower.
But was Kevin Keegan chosen because he did have a unique physique back then, I think, in football? He was absolutely shredded, Kevin Keegan. One of the few footballers who actually were, because he presumably wasn't in the pub all the time, but he had abs. He was really built on top as well. He was a fine figure of a man back then.
Also, when he sits down in the change room and Henry Cooper takes his towel off, Keegan is at dick level.
He is at dick level.
And you see it from behind Henry Cooper, and it's like, what is about to happen?
Brute 33, the deodorant with muscle.
What about Pele? He did it all.
He did everything.
He literally advertised everything. He pretty much became synonymous with it, didn't he? As basically the footballer in all adverts. The Pepsi one was a musical one, wasn't it? Which saw him seductively drinking Pepsi and playing football. It's so
odd.
cliche and so obvious, isn't it?
Across the nation, it's a Pepsi generation. Here today, here to stay. Feeling free.
He's like the gold standard for all this because there's nothing he wouldn't hawk.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll come to it. But it's the erectile dysfunction pill one is the gold standard for Pele, isn't it? Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he had to make it clear. It's like, I don't suffer from erectile dysfunction.
but
I want to make
did,
that really clear.
yeah.
If I did, I would use these though, but I don't.
But it
Stop
does work.
thinking
It
I
does
do.
work, and I can show you.
I want an advert from a footballer who's crying because he can't get an erection.
Just shouting at it. Come on!
Come on! I'm sorry, just give me a second. I ran upstairs.
I'm too stressed. There's a lot going on at work.
Don't Pep.
Try working on the Neil Warnock.
I just think that would be a more honest product.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
I read an article about why he chose to do that advert.
Money. Money is why I chose to do it.
He said he thought it was a really important issue.
That's not why he did it.
Bullshit. Absolute. Because people sort of talk about, oh, you shouldn't take the mic because, you know, it's an important issue, blah, 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 blah. And it is. But, like, he wouldn't, A, he disassociated himself from the fucking product in the first place, and B, he would have been paid a hell of a lot of money by Pfizer, who invented the blooming thing. So, oy.
That's 100 times that people hear.